Did you know that back in the 1950s, the US military tried to build a plane that never had to land? We're talking about a bomber that could stay in the air for weeks, months, or even a year at a time. No refueling, no stopping, just infinite flight. It sounds like a dream, right? But to make it work, engineers had to do something absolutely mental. They tried to put a live nuclear reactor inside a jet engine. This is the story of the flying Chernobyl. $1 billion project that was as brilliant as it was terrifying. So why did we even want this? Well, back in the early Cold War, the biggest enemy wasn't the Soviets, it was gas mileage. Chemical fuel is heavy. If you want to fly a massive bomber across the world, you have to carry so much fuel that you barely have room for anything else. But then scientists had a eureka moment. They realized that 1 kilogram of uranium has 2 million times the energy of a kilogram of jet fuel. If you swapped gas for atoms, you didn't just have a plane anymore. You had a permanent flying fortress. But how do you actually make a nuclear jet work? This is where it gets wild. Engineers came up with something called the direct air cycle. Think of a normal jet engine. Air goes in, gets squeezed, mixes with fuel, and explodes out the back. In the nuclear version, they just ripped out the fuel and replaced it with a white-hot nuclear reactor core. The air would fly directly through the reactor and shoot out the back as thrust. The catch? Because that air touched the raw uranium, the exhaust was intensely radioactive. Imagine a plane flying over your house, literally leaving a trail of nuclear fallout in its wake. It wasn't just a bomber, it was a flying environmental disaster. Now you're probably wondering, how did the pilots not, melt? To test this, the US built the NB-36H. They put a reactor in the back and built an 11-ton lead and rubber vault in the front for the crew. The windshield was a massive block of leaded glass nearly a foot thick. Even then, the pilots were basically sitting in a lead coffin, praying the shielding would hold. And get this, the plane was so heavy from all that lead that it could barely perform. It was a high-tech bomber that flew like a wet, literal ton of bricks. But if you think the plane was scary, wait until you hear about Project Pluto. This was a missile. No pilots, no shielding, just a raw, unshielded nuclear engine screaming through the sky at Mach 3. It was designed to fly at treetop level. The shock wave from it passing by was loud enough to kill people on the ground, and while it flew, it would rain radioactive particles over everything in its path. It was so terrifyingly dangerous that the military eventually decided it was too provocative to even test. Basically, it was a weapon that was too scary, even for the Cold War. Did you know that even landing these things was a disaster? You can't just turn off a nuclear reactor like a car engine, it stays hot for hours. When the NB-36H landed, it had to be met by a specialized crew. The reactor was winched out of the plane and lowered into a massive lead-lined underground pit just so it wouldn't melt the tarmac. It was the ultimate high-maintenance relationship. So why don't we see nuclear Cessnas at the airport today? Well, besides the whole crashing and causing a nuclear meltdown thing, we invented the ICBM. Why build a slow radioactive plane when you can just launch a missile from a silo? In 1961, President Kennedy pulled the plug after we spent over $1 billion. That's about 12 billion today. The flying Chernobyl remains one of the weirdest chapters in history. A time when we were so obsessed with the atomic age that we almost turned the sky into a radioactive no-go zone. What do you think? Would you have volunteered to pilot a lead-lined plane powered by a reactor? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more Did You Know history.